Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel, Peterisms, where I tell stories of my life and just little things that I have learned as I have grown into the person that I am today. And I have 3 meditation books with me from my 3 favorite books, which are A Year of Positive Thinking by Cindy Spiegel, Daily Inspiration, Wisdom, and Courage. This is my new one for 2021. The Language of Letting Go by Melody Beatty, which is my all-time favorite meditation book. And then I also have dropped my reading glasses. And then I also have Journey to the Heart by Melody Beatty, which I love as well. And when I was looking through these today, you guys, all 3 of them were fantastic. So get in, settle down, get in. Get settled in. I think I'm going to read all 3 meditations today. So we're going to have a long, are you ready for it? A long meditation video. I'm excited. You can watch half of it today and half of it tomorrow if you want. But I'm probably going to post one tomorrow as well. All right, let's start with, well, actually, this is, I think, A Year of Positive Thinking. This one is the one that I want to end on. So I'm going to read them in the order that I found them. So we're going to start with Journey to the Heart by Melody Beatty. February 27th, Open to Life's Magic. I love that title. I love that the word magic is one of my favorite words to describe life as being magical, and I just love the word magic so much. And I have to tell you, it started for me, I mean, I've always loved the word magic, and I wanted to do magic tricks when I was a little kid. But there's a Linda Berry book about these characters, Marlis and May Monn, that were sisters. And one of them is called It's So Magic. And I love that book so much. And it's just so colorful and beautiful that ever since then I've just loved the word magic and magical as a descriptive word. Do you guys like certain words more than others? I know that's corny, but anyway, February 27th, Open to Life's Magic. I will never forget my mother's words to me the first time she took me to the Hoh rainforest, a woman told me when she learned I was going there. We were at the edge of the forest about to enter. My mother stopped walking and turned to me. "There's magic here," she said. It wasn't her words that impressed me. What struck me was the absolute certainty and matter-of-fact way she said it. It was like she had just told me, dinner's ready. There's magic in the air. It's the next place in the journey. It's inevitable. We have been clearing the path so we could do more than merely trudge down the road. The road leads to magic, a magical way of living, a magical way of being here. The magic in the air isn't an illusion, isn't a trick. You have done your work. You have stuck with the journey. Now is the time for fun, the time to see and know more of life's magical ways. Walk lightly, enter the enchanted forest, look around, keep your eyes and ears open. Tell others what you see. The journey to the heart is a journey of wonder and awe. The ancient ones, the trees, are waiting for you, the woman said. When you get there, tell them I said hi. Open to life's magic. It's been waiting for your call. I love that meditation so much, and I just love the idea of looking at the world in a magical way, you know, and it's like, I look at movies that I loved as a kid, and Wizard of Oz was one of my favorite movies ever, and, you know, the idea now looking back on it as an adult, and it's this idea of the self-discovery, you know, of that everything that I was always looking for was in my own backyard, so to speak, but this idea of looking at the world from a magical point of view, you know, and creatures that we meet along the way, which are just, you know, eccentric characters that become our friends sometimes, or staples in our lives, you know. And I look at my life that way today. I look at just all of the interesting people that I meet and all the lessons that I learn from them. And I think every day, even when I'm not like in the greatest of moods, I try to get out of that quickly and become open to the magic of the day, you know, and really, and even if I don't say it that way, you know, I'm kind of like, okay, God, like what great things do you have for me today, so to speak, because you know, I remember when I was in college, and one of the ways that, like, I could get myself there, because I didn't love being in school, you know, was by thinking to myself, well, maybe today I'll meet somebody new, or maybe I'll, you know, meet somebody that'll be my next new friend, or, you know, maybe I'll find a book that I've never read before, and it was always kind of that, you know, like, what is the day going to bring me? And I still like to look at the day like that today, you know, and it's like, right now it's 6:30, we're getting ready to go out to dinner with some friends here that are in town in just a little bit. And then I have some things that I'm going to do around the house tonight. And it's just like, you know, tomorrow I'm doing inventory with my sponsor. And it's just like about being open to, well, what could be coming my way, you know? Could it be a call from my friend saying, do you want to go get a fountain pop tonight, you know? Or could it be me watching a new TV show and discovering a new TV show that becomes my favorite, or starting a book that I absolutely love? You know, it even can be as simple as that when you're open to the magic of the world around you. you. So I love that meditation. All right. The next one is about people pleasers, which I think that so many of us could relate to if you relate to codependency whatsoever. It was interesting because I talked about this on my vlog extensively, but on Thursday evenings, I go to, well, I don't go to it, but my good Judy, Tanya, and I, we get together and we listen to the Zoom meeting, and it's just an hour of somebody sharing their story about emotional sobriety. And it's usually somebody that has quite a bit of sobriety, and the person that we were listening to this week, I think, had 37 years in a sister program in Al-Anon, and there was a guy in there that like got sober the year that I was born, and it's really cool to hear these people that are still very active in 12-step programs and service, and that their lives have just like changed miraculously as a result, of their sobriety, and it's so cool and it's so full of hope. And but this guy that was talking the other night, he said something, and I had never heard it this way. I hear about codependency, and he said something to the effect of, "There's no co in my dependency, I'm just dependent." And I was like, oh wow. He was like, I'm dependent upon people, and I try to control people and try to control outcomes. And I was like, that was literally me, growing up in this alcoholic home where, whatever I could control, whatever little thing, and then that fed into my addiction as well. Which, the one, we try to control people, places, and things, but the one thing that we can't control is our addiction, and then that leads us, into getting sober, many of us, hopefully. And so control is like a huge issue of that. And I thought this idea of being dependent on other people and dependent upon validation from other people and dependent upon acceptance and love from other people, it really, what is the term codependency? I guess I don't know. It's like, it was this major paradigm shift that I had on Thursday evening. I was like, all these years I have talked about codependency, and maybe it really isn't codependency. Maybe it just is flat out dependency, that I'm dependent on people in my life, and I think for many, many years of my life, I felt that I had to have a man complete me, and I was talking about this on my vlog as well, that idea from like Jerry Springer, or not Jerry Springer, sorry. Well, that too, but the movie Jerry Maguire, so many of us loved that scene when Renee Zellweger or Tom Cruise, one of them says, "You complete me," or something like that. And it's like this whole idea that another person completes us is absolute fairy tale. There's no truth to that whatsoever, And I think that what I know today is that I share my life with my husband, and, I choose for him to be in my life, and he chooses for me to be in his life. It's not this, we complete each other and, half of one of the other. It's like, yeah, that's a dreamy kind of fairy tale way to look at the world. But I think that when you think that way, then you're so constantly dependent on the acceptance and the validation of somebody else that when you're not getting it, then it feels like you're not loved. When in actuality, that's absolutely inaccurate. They may be loving you in all the ways that they can, but the reality is that you need it on some fairy tale level. Well, for many, many years, I needed love on a fairy tale level, And I even dated this guy way back in the day, and I remember he said to me, like, you believe in the fairy tale of movies that everybody walks off in the sunset and there's no truth to that. I'm like, I still am holding out. I'm still holding out, but that's just not reality. It just isn't, And I think that kind of thinking really does breed dependency, And it's so not healthy. We should, I remember the first counselor that I saw after I got out of treatment, and I did one of the worst things you can ever do, and that is I got into a relationship like really quick, like that week. And I can remember talking to my counselor about him, and I was like, isn't it so great? And like when he's here, it's like, we spend every minute together and on and on and on. He goes, no, I don't think that's a healthy relationship at all. And I was so upset that he said this, and I was like, you don't? He was like, no. He was like, I think a healthy relationship is when you have one person over here living their life independently, and you have another person over here living their life independently, and their lives, for this area and here overlap, and they share that piece of their life. But no, they're not dependent upon each other. 26 years later, I finally get it, It's like when Oprah says that lessons come to us, over and over and over again, as a whisper, as a feather, as a mountain, as a, whatever. It's like I finally got it at 26 years, that I don't have to be dependent upon somebody for there to be love there, that love can come in many different ways. And I think sometimes the less dependent we are on somebody, And I'm not talking about feeling like we need somebody in our life or like, but like getting to that point where you're like, I don't know how I will ever survive or exist if this person isn't in my life anymore. You'll do just fine, okay? It may take a while. You may grieve the loss of that relationship, but you're going to be just fine. And the really powerful thing that comes from it, and I learned this in counseling when we were going to marriage counseling, because when I would do my individual sessions with our counselor, this was one of the things we talked about, the power in not being in a relationship because you need somebody because they define you, but being in a relationship with somebody because you choose for them to be there and they choose for you to be there. Wow. Like that's a really big deal. And then that means that they're there because they love you and they want to be there, not because they feel like it's a burden and they have to be there. It's a huge difference, So I think that it's really important to understand that. And I love that idea of talking about dependency, just not codependency, but like dependency and like, what are you dependent on, So today's meditation in language of letting go is called people pleasers. February 27th, people pleasers. Have you ever been around people pleasers? I've been a people pleaser. And there was a period in my life too where I said that and I wore it like a badge of honor. There's no honor to be found in being a people pleaser. I mean, that's a language of martyrdom, I think, Have you ever been around people pleasers? They tend to be displeasing. Being around someone who is turned inside out to please another is often irritating and anxiety producing. People pleasing is a behavior we may have adapted to survive in our family. We may not have been able to get the love and attention we deserved, just what I was talking about. We may not have been given permission to please ourselves, to trust ourselves, and to choose a course of action that demonstrated self-trust. People pleasing can be overt or covert. We may run around fussing over others, chattering a mile a minute, when what we are really saying is, I hope I'm pleasing you. Like, have you ever gone, my grandma, my dad's mom, this really reminds me of her. You would go to her house, and all you wanted to do was sit down with grandma, or my dad to sit down with his mom and have a conversation, and she constantly was like, can I get you something to drink? Oh, let me heat this up for you. Here, I made lunch, and whatever. And she thought that she was pleasing you, but in reality, what we wanted was just time to visit with her, She wasn't pleasing us, but she thought it was like this self-serving, and I can remember my dad and I talking about it as I got older, and he was like, my mom has been that way ever since I was a little kid. Like, that is how she speaks. Like, that is her language, and I think that's sad, It's like, so many of us are missing out on the fact that maybe your kid or maybe your mom wants 5 minutes of a conversation with you other than you fussing over them. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, I love the Toni Morrison quote so much that when a child walks in a room, do their eyes light up is what they're looking for, right? Like, they're looking to see, do you have a critical eye? Like, are you looking to see, are their shoes tied? Is their shirt tucked in? Or are you looking, or when a child walks in the room, do your eyes light up? Well, I've said this on here so many times. I don't think that stops with children. I think as adults, when my best friend gets in the car, I look, do her eyes light up? I'm like, is she excited to see me? When my husband comes through the door at the end of the day, I'm like, is he excited to see me? He probably is the same way. And some days, I'm so caught up in what I'm doing that I'm not thinking about that. Other days I'm very attentive. And I think we should be more conscious of that, that whenever we interact with somebody, do our eyes light up? How are we responding to them? Because that's more important than all of the things we can do for that person, Half the time, people don't really care about that to begin with. So, people pleasers can be overt or covert. We may run around fussing over others, chattering a mile a minute, when what we are really saying is, I hope I'm pleasing you. Or we may be more covert, quietly going through life, making important decisions based on pleasing others. Taking other people's wants and needs into consideration is an important part of our relationships. We have responsibilities to friends and family and employers. We have a strong inner responsibility to be loving and caring, but people-pleasing backfires. Not only do others get annoyed with us, we often get annoyed when our efforts to please do not work as we planned. The most comfortable people to be around are those who are considerate of others, but ultimately please themselves. Help me, God, work through my fears and begin to please myself. I think it's a great meditation, and it's not about being self-serving or selfish or, whatever. It's about thinking selflessly, but at the same time putting yourself first, right? Because you have to do that. Like I say on here all the time, you have to take care of yourself to be there for other people. Like, and I say that to people, and I'll get comments or like I'll say it in a video, and I just washed my hands with a soap that I love so much. I just bought, I have to say on a side note, it's this Woodland, and I shared it in my review channel yesterday of my favorites for February, and it just smells so fantastic. But anyway, like I'll get a comment from somebody or I'll get an email that will say, I understand when you say you need to take care of yourself, but I don't have any time for that. Like, I get up and I get my kids ready for school and I'm making them breakfast and, I'm doing this and I'm doing that and I'm running to work and I have 2 jobs and I have to do homework and get them into bed and baths and dinner and all this kind of stuff and I don't have time for myself. You don't have 5 minutes for yourself? 5 minutes. When you're driving in the car, just listening to a couple of songs that make you happy, make a playlist of some of your favorite songs, That's taking care of yourself. Or getting a magazine once a week that is, fun for you to look through. Or listening to an audiobook or, I don't know, watching 10 minutes of a TV show before you go to bed at night or, washing your face and having a little nighttime routine. Like, I think there are so many different ways that we can learn to take care of ourselves that when people say that to me, it's almost kind of like, I don't believe that you care enough about yourself that you want to take care of yourself, And then it feeds into martyrdom of, look at all of this that I do for other people. I don't have 1 second to take care of myself. Well, the reality is that the majority of those people that you're taking care of will never notice. They just never will. And so you'll wake up one day and be 80 and have given your whole life away for taking care of other people and look back. And I think a lot of people, this is why they become bitter, because they're like, I did all of this. I took care of everybody else and now where are they? And here I am all alone and nobody cares about me. Well, that's where we have to take care of ourselves first. Not selfishly, not without caring about others, but making sure that we're okay, that we're taking care of ourselves, So that was a great meditation. The last meditation is from A Year of Positive Thinking, Daily Inspiration, Wisdom, and Courage by Cindy Spiegel. And I love the title of this. It is Things Do Get Better, February 27th. When you are in the midst of the rubbish that life sometimes tosses your way, it feels impossible to gain perspective. When those moments come, hold tight. Things will get better. But first, be willing to walk through whatever you are experiencing. No running, no distractions, and no negotiation. Sit still, quiet down, and listen inward. What is your experience telling you? What is needed? What can be learned? This is the hard part, but you can do it, and you will. Eventually, you will end up on the other side with a resilience that you didn't know you had. I love that so much. On the heels of the, Melody Beatty meditation that I read like a month ago, where she said, not everything that happens in life is to teach you a lesson. Some things just happen to you in your life to teach you that you're stronger than you thought you were. And I love that. I've held on to that so tightly, I use this analogy a lot, but I think that when we're going through tough times in our life, it's like taking a road trip and there's a storm coming, right? And you see this horrible storm and the sky is literally black, right? And you're like, I can't make it through the storm. And, people are pulling off and you're like, okay, well, should I keep on going? I'm gonna have to go through it eventually sometime, right? And so you get to it and it's it starts sprinkling a little bit and then it starts hailing and people are literally pulling underneath overpasses and you're white knuckling it trying to make it through. And you're going through it and there's a point where you're the only one on the road. It feels like nobody's there with you. You're all alone, whatever. Even if you have people with you that are you can do this, because many of us do in life have cheerleaders, but it still feels all alone. You're going through this thing all alone, this, road trip of life. And you're white knuckling it and it's you can't even see 10 feet in front of your car because the rain is coming down so hard and you're like, God, I should have pulled over. I should have just let it go. And then you get through the storm and on the other side, it's it's all blue skies. And in the back, you see the storm and you think to yourself, there's all those people that are still going through it, but I made it through it. I did it, And now it's just blue skies all ahead. And the other thing you think when you get to that side is, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. I mean, it was bad, but it wasn't 2 hours. It was 10 minutes, and you make it through the other side, And I'm sure there's some exceptions to that. Sometimes there's a 2-hour storm, but some storms are longer than others. But you made it, and you did it, and it's gonna be okay. Things are gonna get better, and I think that it's so important for us to remember that. That where you're at now is not where you're going to be 6 months or a year from now. And I think we forget sometimes the things we've gone through in our past to remember that those things that we went through in our past, are to serve as evidence that we can make it through things today. And you are going to make it through things today. Things are going to get better. Your life is going to get better. Trust me. And you know what? And then there's going to be hard times ahead down the road too. But let's remember in those hard times that we made it before and we can make it again. So anyway, I love you guys. I hope you're having a fantastic beginning to your weekend. Well, I guess it's the middle of the weekend now. Anyway, I love you and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.